And we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the dog back from a little vacation, a little break. First missed UFC card in, I think, 3 or 4 years, probably for me. Yeah, we did pretty well last week and the week before, but obviously, shout out to Driscus. I did not give him the credit he deserves. Am I mistaken in that? How you doing, 2 Cents?
Dude. Man, it is good to be back, dude. Thank you for having me as always. Pretty good card, dude. We were just talking about it right before you went live. I'm pretty excited to break it down, and yeah, dude, good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's appreciate everybody in the chat showing back up, giving me a break from last week. But yeah, 15 fights on the card. Most of them, if not all of them, I think there's a pretty legit argument for the dog. And I'll definitely be making my case. I said at least 5 dogs this card, but we'll see. There's 15 fights, so I think a third of them being dogs would not surprise me. This first fight on the card, one of the many that I've seen a lot of people on the dog, not a ton of people on the favorite. But we'll get to it in a second. Fili making his second fight in the UFC against Daniel Beres, who lost on the Contender Series to Carlos Hernandez. It was a pretty close fight. Carlos Hernandez was just a little more well-rounded. Beres, he's got decent takedowns against somebody who's willing to get taken down like Carlos Hernandez, and he does have a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but Beres is pretty much, to me, a pretty pure kickboxer. The guy he submitted was a can. Honestly, everybody's fought since being off the Contender Series is not very good. And he had a fight with Jojo Morales that was supposed to be on Uriah Faber's card. I don't know why that got scrapped, but that would have told us who was at least worthy of being in this spot. I think he kind of got a break at 34 years old coming in here. And now, I mean, if he can keep it on the feet, he's going to have the advantage over Fili, especially early when he's got, I think, the gas and everything. But I do think he's going to be distracted by the takedowns and trips of Fili and the submission game if it gets down there. I think he's going to be pretty out of his element. I mean, Fili was, he did submit Makayev, but honestly, I think that Fili is much more well-rounded on the feet. The thing I don't like that he does is the naked leg kicks. I think that could get him punished against a guy like Beres. So, I mean, if you're playing Beres, I think you should play the KO. Fili, I do think could get a decision or the submission. So, I mean, this could be a split candidate, honestly, but I really do like what I've seen on Fili. He's a little bit younger, 4 years younger, in fact. So both these guys, 30 years old at flyweight, late in their careers for this division. So, but I just think that Fili is going to get this to the ground and get him out of there with the submission. So I do think Fili gets it done on the feet. I think it's a much more closer than on the ground for Fili. So overall, I like the price I got Fili. I got him at minus 115 2 days ago. Bet him straight. I'm going to have him in possibly a favorite parlay to start out the night, like I did with Reva Vic a couple weeks ago. So 2 Cents, what's your thoughts on this one?
I am on the same side as you, my friend, and I love that you're on Fili. And yeah, I feel much the same. I feel like I'll say that Beres probably has a little bit better like wrestling, like his takedowns look a little bit better. But that which fight was it of Beres's? Let me see. His last loss before Hernandez, the David Zvicka fight. I know that was a while ago, but he just seemed like very susceptible to getting out scrambled, and also like he was getting like taken down with these trip takedowns, like the kind that I think Fili will probably get. And also he got put in like threatened with a knee bar, and like watching that last fight, it's like, dude, a lot of people are going to tap to that knee bar. Like Makayev.
And I do think, he can get that against a guy like Beres, who's
absolutely, dude,
too familiar with it. I agree. Glenbach,
honestly, on the feet, like Yeah, Beres is probably the cleaner striker, but Filo's not bad, man. He's got a good left hook, and he's pretty powerful. Like I've seen him knock people out, and yeah, I like Filo all around. And I do agree that I think if he gets it to the ground, I think he's going to choke Beres. But if it stays on the feet, it could get tasty. But yeah, I like Filo too. I parlayed him. I can't remember exactly what line, but it wasn't too bad. It was like minus 125, minus 130 or something. But yeah, I like him to get it done.
Yeah, I like him as well here. 34-year-old flyweight. It's tough to get by. But, I mean, I do like if you're betting Beres, bet him by KO here because I do think that he does have the power on his side here. And there is some bad tendencies Filo does, especially that naked leg kick that he throws in a lot of fights. But we'll see. I just think that this should be a spot for Filo. Minus 120 currently. Even money on Beres. Over 2.5 is at minus 105, which honestly, the minus 125 under 2.5, I don't hate either. But yeah. Jack, is it pass or pass for the 125 fight or for this strawweight fight? Because I understand both, honestly. Money coming in on Bruno Brazil. So right there, honestly, Shawna Bannon, whatever you want to call her, I don't really care, man. I watched her Invicta stuff. It wasn't great. She kind of throws a lot of kicks. We're going to see a kickboxing cardio class, I hear, for 15 minutes, most likely. But Bruno has shown if you pressure her and start hitting her in the face, she gets crashed up. What up, Bishop? Good to see this man making his way to the chat. Fantastic, man. Good to see you, man. Yeah, Bruno Brazil, she doesn't like pressure, but Shawna Banana is not going to really be that either. I think that this can be the type of fight that Bruna might show off she has the submission skills to submit someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So, I mean, I'd love to take the dog in Shawna Bannon. I'm going to take Bruna Brazil for my very, very small favorite parlay to start out the card. But Bruna should get this done. Probably by decision. I think the over 2.5 is what I'd play if I had to bet something.
I am on the Bruna Brazil side as well. It's too low level for like I've been doing that recently to some success, but I don't want to here because I think that if Brazil doesn't finish her and it goes to the cards, like I would just be too worried about. Kind of like I know she's Irish, but it would still kind of be like a little bit of a UK robbery. But I don't know, man. Like if I was the same kind of like I wasn't overly impressed with Bannon on the tape. And like if she does get octagon jitters and she's just like standing there deer in the headlights in front of Bruna, she's gonna get fucking head kicked. So like I wouldn't be surprised if Bruna knocked her out. But yeah, I'll take Brazil to win a decision or maybe a late KO. But yeah, I think she's the side. And if you like her, it's like it's not that bad of a line. It's like I still think it's under like under minus 150.
Bruna's going to be a lot of non-lethal strikers, I think, because she's not like – I mean, we've seen Denise now knock out a couple possibly fraudulent prospects, but still she's got that kind of pop to her shots. I haven't seen Shawna Bannon at all, like, honestly.
Yeah, dude, Brazil's minus 145 right now. I mean, that's not too bad.
I mean, yeah, again, this is just a fight I'm not betting a lot. The under 2.5 is at plus 210. So that tells you everything. But yeah, fraudulent decisions have happened. So maybe you throw a little on the greasy split. But otherwise, yeah, leave this one alone for the most part. Minus 155 on Bruno, way too much at this point. Yeah. So I would it's favorite or pass for me just because I don't know about this Shawna Banana girl. So, all right, we're going to move on to the next one here. The real Chris Duncan, please stand up. Is this the real Chris Duncan? Not since Chris Leroy Duncan, in case just my 2 cents doesn't remember, called him a fraud and was correct. Congratulations. Chris Duncan here coming off of that scintillating performance against Omar Morales. I went back and tried to watch that tape, and I decided no thanks. I'm all set. Yeah, he can wrestle when he needs to. Facing Yano Ashima, who out of Israel, knocking out that tall striker in the last fight. And honestly, this is a really difficult fight for me to really gauge because I was definitely not on Yano last time out. I really liked the killer instinct he showed. It was like a minute and 15-second fight, and the chin was the question of his opponent, and he just kind of dealt with that. Again, Chris Duncan's question is his chin. He's been rocked, including on both his Contender Series fights. And I don't know, man. I just think like he was able to expose Morales because Morales is an old, faded, not very good kickboxer only. So when he has to wrestle, he's really not going to be great. I like Yano in this spot. I bet him at even money. And I do think he can win a decision for sure. I'm not just thinking he's going to go out there and knock him out, even though I am going to pick the knockout in this spot. I do think he ends up catching Duncan, and I think he has really good killer instinct. I think Duncan is willing to fight in phone booths often. I don't think he's going to use his length. I think he'll kind of overexpose himself into wrestling as well, where Yano's not terrible. Rizko, a guy he fought on CFFC, very good grappler, actually. In a fight which I bet Risco in. So I've faded Yano a couple times here, and now I'm on Yano. I think Yano by decision is a decent parlay bet or a decent prop bet, honestly, as well. I do think this is another close fight. I just think Yano's going to win the moments more. And I just think Chris Duncan, he kind of has that Rob Font issue of, being able to win minutes and then giving them away with moments because he does get rocked often. So I'm just not a Chris Duncan believer, man. I got Yano here. Talked myself into Yano by decision, but maybe the over 2.5 if you want to go one way or the other on that. But what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, this is our first head-to-head, and I am going to be sweating it. I have parlayed Chris Duncan because I'm really smart, and I got him at minus 160. I don't think, it's not an incredible line, but it's not I don't know, in a two-piece, both under minus 200, I don't think it's too bad. I'm worried that he might get chinned, but I'll also say this, I think Slava is a little bit better than Yano Ashmuz, and I don't think Charlie Campbell is some, complete bum either. And those are the two guys that have really hurt him. Slava obviously knocked him out, but I went back and watched that fight, dude, and he actually was pretty fucking competitive on the feet with Slava. And I don't know, man. I think Chris Duncan is way tougher than fucking Sammy Patterson. And I just I watched the Dennis Hughes fight back that Yano had on the PFL Challenger Series. And man, he gets taken down incredibly fucking easy. And if Duncan puts his wrestling shoes on, I think he's going to stay on top of him. And I don't know, man. I like Duncan to get it done pretty comfortably here. I've seen Ashmuz slow down. Duncan can push the pace for 3 rounds. I think the real Duncan does show up here. I think, I'm a little bit higher on him maybe than I should be. But I also think that some people give him a hard time for what's really not he fucking slumped Charlie Campbell. And I'll tell you what, in that fucking Dennis Hughes fight, Yano was getting touched up a little bit in the 3rd round. If he's getting hit, and I heard them say during the commentary that's oh, Yano actually likes to get hit. He likes to take punches. It's okay, dude, if you're going to play that game with Chris Duncan, Duncan cracks. And I think he could be who has Yano fought that can really hurt him? I think Chris Duncan can. So I'm going to go the way here, but Yano's live, dude, and I'm definitely scared about it. And I won't be surprised at all if Duncan gets slumped.
I should have waited because plus 125 to Yano now.
I do not know. I did this shit. I fucking did this shit again, man. I got burned on a couple of lines, but whatever.
It's all good. I really, it is what it is. I do think it's interesting. The over's at plus 140. I'm pretty interested in playing that as well, honestly, because I think if Chris Duncan does fight a smart fight, I'm counting on Duncan winning a decision, honestly. So I don't think Duncan, but if Duncan puts away Yano here, that would be pretty impressive to me as well. I think that the reach, what is it? It's about a 3.5-inch reach difference, and I think it looks a little more than that, honestly, as well. Yano does look like a guy who could fight at 145, if I'm being honest.
I agree, and Duncan does fight behind a good jab. He's got pretty good boxing, but I don't like his willingness to Yano throws nasty hooks in the pocket. If it's a phone booth, I'm gonna be sweating for real.
Yeah, but either way, that'll be an interesting one. I think that Duncan wrestling would lead to the over cashing. So over 2.5 at plus 140, I'm probably going to put a little down on that. So next fight here, Caitlyn Vieira versus Penny Kianzad. This is one that I started out thinking, oh yeah, I'll just get Vieira here at some point in the week as the price gets better and better on her, and then it's just one of these fights where Caitlyn Vieira doesn't throw shit, man. She's gonna get drowned in volume by Penny Kianzad. I do think Penny Kianzad decision. If you're really interested, Vieira can finish the fight, and it wouldn't surprise me if Vieira just catches one of those kind of check left hook type of things. But maybe uses the grappling, exposes it, gets an arm triangle type of finish because she is just physically stronger than Penny. But if it stays on the feet, Penny's going to out strike her 3-1 or so at least. And I think it will get worse and worse as the fight goes on. So Penny should win this by decision. She'll make it closer than it should be, but still. Yeah, I think Penny gets a decision. This is one that I'll give you credit because I went to you early in the week. I was looking to get on Vieira and just have someone tell me, yeah, and you kind of right away fought the other way. So I kind of know where you're going on this, but where'd you end up settling on this? I got Penny here. I don't think I'm going to bet it just because I hate this fight. And maybe but I don't even think the split. I think Penny just wins a pretty clear decision or she gets slumped. So there's nothing to really do here for me.
You said it, Bubba. PASS in all capital letters. I don't want a fucking thing to do with this mid-row ass WMMA fight. I'm gonna flip a coin, honestly, dude. I might pick Caitlyn just because she has maybe a little bit more power, but she is such a fraud as far as being like a real contender to me. And Penny's always been a kind of middle of the packer too. Like she can look good against lower level, but when she gets a step up, it's just like, dude, I don't know. I'm gonna stay far the fuck away from it. Probably gonna flip a coin. Maybe pick Caitlyn. I don't fucking know. I just don't like it. I think Penny's a live dog, but like I don't want anything to do with it.
Yep, plus 130, minus 150, over 2.5 at minus 320. Yeah, what else is there to really say here? 231-year-old bantamweights. Women's MMA is live and well, everybody. All right, Brian Barberena, Mahmoud Miradov. This is just the easy part of the card, to be honest with you. I'm not going to really overthink this. Brian Barberena is going up to 185. At first, I just, without looking, assume Mahmoud was going down to 170 for some reason, panicking and because that seems more likely than Barberena going up to middleweight and having much of a chance. Yeah, I think that Barberena is going to take some shots, maybe get finished in round 2 instead of round 1. But I think Miradov is going to put a beating on Brian Barberena. And if he doesn't knock him out, it's going to get very bloody in there. So either way, I just think Miradov cruises here, to be honest. So I get the prices approaching minus 300 where I wouldn't want it, but I parlayed them like everybody else. I fell for one of the parlay traps. I think there's a few on this card. But Miradov, I think he gets the knockout somewhere in round 2.
Yeah, I've been doing this thing for the last couple of weeks where I'm writing down my own lines and looking at the bookies or whatever. I wrote that it was wide. I mean, I don't think anybody would really argue that. As far it's getting wide anyway. It's now minus 350 at the book that I've been playing.
Oh, is it?
So I'm not. Yeah, dude, I'm not touching that. But I also
it's 315 on DraftKings right now.
No thanks. Thank you. No. But yeah, I do think that Miradov chin checks him. I think just the way Barberena's willingness to brawl, I think Miradov is going to show why he I think it was a little bit too much hype, but I think he's going to show why he did have some hype, and people are going to.
He doesn't have to think about the wrestling; he's world class. He's
exactly,
he's like Goldberg. He's like these other guys where when they just get to strike, pure strike against someone who's 15 pounds smaller than them, it's just. But it's funny because the over/under is minus 115.
Dude, Barberena.
They're like, is Barberena going to get a legendary beating that shortens his career, or is he going to go out early and keep his career longer?
Bro, Barbarina is going to look like such a tub at 185. Like, good God. I can't wait
He's
to see
not.
what
Yeah, he's not. He's on the farm, just like relaxing 15 pounds. This isn't good. Like, this is just like 34 years old. Like, I mean, Miradov, good agent, good management here. I really hope he finishes them, because otherwise it's gonna get.
Yeah, I think he's going to starch him, and Floyd is going to have like the biggest shit-eating grin on his face and probably like TikTok or something. I don't know.
All right, next fight on the card. Oh boy. Heavyweights. Mick Parkins here, making his UFC debut off of the Contenders Series, where he beat one of the LFA heavyweight frauds. The LFA heavyweight division. If you know something about me, you know I love LFA. See the LFA and Cage Warriors breakdown tomorrow. It will be together on a video here. But LFA heavyweights, not exactly the recipe. And Mick Parkins got by Muniz, a decent Brazilian, but basically he just survived a few shots, and then he was able to outgas him or out tank him. By the way, his gas lasted 1:57. Neves, not Muniz. And the fight with Faith Akatas, the fight before that, that's one of the ones that gives me trouble, against a 6-9 guy who was able to kind of work him in that first round, work the grappling and cage clinches at times. The thing about Pogues, he should be 205, but I think at 265, the problem with him at 205 is he can't really extend his grappling gas tank the full distance. He ends up gassing out, giving up positions to guys. He's lost only good guys at 205, but a lot of it has been because he's probably had to cut a lot of weight to get down to 205. At 265 or at he's not weighing at 265. He's weighing at 230, 240. And he is able to keep the takedowns and kind of the trimp and clinch game going throughout. Broke his hand against Parisian. I know that might sound like an excuse. It is what it is. He did what he needed to do, got 7-8 takedowns against him. With Parkin, I think Parkin, we don't really know how good he is, but we also know he hasn't been willing to test himself against good competition. And, I mean, he's finishing all these guys inside of one round. I do think that Pogues extends this into the later rounds. So it's a lot of unknowns, but I do think Pogues should be able to cover a -140 ticket. So I did put him in a parlay. And I do like him in the spot by most likely a decision, but I do think that overall the TKO could be there later, depending on the speed advantage. But yeah, I like Pogues here. Hocus Pocus.
I am on the Jamal Pogue side as well. It's not that, like, Parkin looks okay in the training footage. He looks pretty good hitting pads. I like his, like, jab, left hook, right hand. And he looks okay against these, like, really shitty dudes. But, like, that guy Neves is his best win by a damn country mile. And, like, it's not that I think Pogues is, like, a world beater. I just think he's a more well-rounded mixed martial artist. Like, I think that if it gets hairy for him on the feet, he'll hit the takedowns. I don't think he's going to shouldn't have too much trouble taking Parkin down. I think Parkin has shown, like, some decent, like, grappling when he's the one on top. He has pretty good ground and pound, but I see Pogues having success with the wrestling if he wants to. On the feet, he's pretty decent. Like, he's reasonably durable. Like, he's only been knocked out once. It was like his first fight. What are we gonna fucking get from Parkin? The dude has fought. Like, I'm not Mr. like keep up with the other organizations, but I ain't heard of one of these fucking organizations he's fought at. It's like I feel like
terrible guys. He's fighting like terrible guys. He's never.
I feel like if you're worth a fuck in Great Britain, you should like at least be in Cage Warriors or something. I don't know, man. I'm gonna take Pogues. I already did take Pogues. I bet him. I parlayed him with another dude that's coming up later on this fight, but I got a decent line on it at like -150 something. But like it's not my strongest lean, but like I think Pogues is just a better fighter, and he's had a little bit more UFC experience. Should get it done.
I got him at -145, so I'm happy with that. -165 now. Yeah, I do think that he's getting I think was getting a little beat up for his Contender Series fights when he wasn't wrestling. I think he's much more well-rounded and more tested, most importantly. So we'll see. Maybe Mick comes out and, looks great. But these not tested guys who get into the, I think, often get exposed by kind of levels like this. Next fight. This is a fight that I did, initially like the favor a lot more than as I've thought about this fight more and more. But Mark Diakese, Joe Alvarez. Mark Diakese coming off of just a very confusing performance against Michael Johnson, honestly. And it really does kind of give me pause with this guy, does he understand his identity or not? I don't really know, but in a fight against Joe Alvarez, he's going to get, his opportunity, I think, to, make one of two choices. I think he could just keep this really on the feet and not test the takedowns. I get it that Joe Alvarez gives takedowns up at will, but Mark Diakese leaves his head in bad positions in a lot of these takedowns, and Joe Alvarez is way too good, I think, to expose him to the ground. So I do think Diakese's best bet is to keep this on the feet, but I think Alvarez can be pretty competitive there. He's very good at keeping it within his distance. And then I'm curious about what Alvarez's response would be if Diakese doesn't go to the wrestling, because I think he is anticipating and hoping the wrestling does come. But we've seen lately with fighters who aren't afraid of getting taken down how much it's helping improve their stand-up and their confidence in throwing things that other fighters wouldn't. I'm not saying he's Charles Oliveira, but I do think he's going to be more willing to throw head kicks, things that maybe tempt Diakese to go to D1 Diakese, because I do think that Alvarez gets this on the ground. He can sweep a guy like Mark Diakese. I do think he can snatch up front chokes and guillotines against Diakese. So I'm still going with the square play. I do like Joe Alvarez, and I like him by submission in here, by hook or by crook. I think that Diakese makes the mistake or Alvarez forces it to happen. But it does concern me. Alvarez has been off for like a year and a half since facing Arman Tsarukyan. Pulled out of the fight earlier this year. So, but at the same point, I do think this is a good spot for him. And I think that, Diakese, it isn't just Diakese gets takedowns. He's fine. I think he's in a lot of danger once he gets those takedowns. So I'll be curious about the approach here. I'm not as confident as I was, but I'm going to stick with Joel Alvarez. And I'm going to stick with him by sub.
Dude, I love what you said about the approach from Diakese, because that's like the fucking rub with him. It's like I never know which dude I'm going to get. Like sometimes he just all of a sudden D1 Diakese shows up, and then sometimes the kickboxer, and it's like I'm initially the knee-jerk reaction was Joel Alvarez. I'm going to stick with that. I'm too pussy to bet this because I'm worried that like Diakese, if it does go to the scorecards, that they could give Diakese the nod. I don't know. I'm still going to pick Alvarez. I think he probably does sub him. I think that if he does try to wrestle, like you said, like I'm on that read as well. Like I think Alvarez will snatch a limb, sweep, or use it to sweep, something like that. Very dangerous off his back, and like just in grappling positions in general. Like I just think he's a dangerous submission grappler, and I don't give him too hard of a time for like a couple of his losses. So yeah, I'm going to pick Alvarez, but yeah, I'm a little too scared to like.
Minus 195. That's minus 195 is tough here. Plus 165 on to Diakese.
I think the opening line was a little bit more appropriate. Slight favorite to Alvarez, but I think if it goes beyond that, yeah, probably just pass.
Yep, I agree. I am going to pass on that as well. Next fight. This should be the opening fight, honestly, but whatever. Or it should be right after the heavyweight fight, I guess. Danny Roberts, Johnny Parsons. Danny Roberts, 36 years old now. Got knocked out clean against Jack Della, but he's been knocked out a few times in his career. And then Johnny Parsons has had some, drug test issues, hasn't been back in the octagon since having a split decision against Solomon Renfro. And if you know how I feel about Solomon Renfro, that's a red flag. Danny Roberts is a better MMA fighter. Johnny Parsons hits a lot harder. Johnny Parsons might knock him out. I just think Danny Roberts is going to out-MMA him and survive to get a split decision. This is a split decision type of fight. Johnny Parsons probably will land the shots that hurt, and then Roberts gets the control, probably backpacks him at some point. We're just going to have it all. So probably Johnny Parsons by robbery, but I'm going to say Danny Roberts gets the hometown split decision. So split decision, draw, whatever. Yeah, Renfro was a draw. Renfro 10-8 round one. It was a really bad round one for Parsons, and Renfro's terrible. Danny Roberts by split decision.
Dude, what the hell even is this fight? Like, what the fuck is the UFC trying to do here, dude? Like,
I don't know.
It seems like they're giving Danny Roberts the type of level of dude that he could beat, but it's definitely not the style of dude that's like good for him as like a third, like you said, like an older dude that has kind of durability issues. But like, it almost feels like they're trying to get him a win in front of the hometown crowd. I'm not willing to put any kind of money behind it. I'm siding with Roberts just because like Parsons is so like, I mean, look at that motherfucker, dude. Like, it just looks so ridiculous. Like, yeah, the Renfro.
He's a striking coach. Like striking coaches have been doing well. Fiziev, Slava Claus.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's the syndicate striking coach. So
oh, my God.
Yeah.
Christ, yeah. Give me Danny Roberts by something. Dude, he could knock this guy. Like Parsons has been knocked out before. Like,
yep.
Roberts is actually a little bit of a glass cannon. Maybe not a cannon, but he does hit hard. Like,
I feel like this fight's going to be fought at a catch weight of 178. Like, they're both going to be like, "Do you want cut weight?" No. It's like, all right, great. Yeah,
what is this mutation of a fight?
I'm not betting it. Johnny Parsons is now the underdog plus 100. Danny Roberts minus 120. So, yeah, we're squares. We're going with the favorite, the very obvious favorite, the Brit. All right, next fight. This is one of my favorite fights on the card. I think this has potential to be fight of the night. Davey Grant versus Daniel Marcos here. Davey Grant, 37 years old now. Marcos, 30 years old. I've really liked what I've seen on Marcos on the regional scene. He took some time off and then looked really good on the Contender Series against Brandon Lewis, former prospect, and just beat him up, goes to the body. Really patient striker as well, paces himself throughout the 3 rounds, which was good to see. He was a big finisher on the regional scene. And then Simon Oliveira, a guy who he made panic and started anticipating the takedowns perfectly, landed the knees to the body. He works the body in all his fights here. And he's not exactly a headhunter. So I think one of Davey Grant's biggest strengths is he takes the shots early and survives, makes it much more of a kind of a gritty fight. Did it against Smolka. Smolka landed early, but Smolka's a guy who, if he doesn't get you out of there early, he's going to have a lot of trouble. So with Rafael Assunção, Rafael Assunção, 40 years old. Marcos, the youngest guy he's fought in a while. The Giannis fight, I do think he kind of fraud checked Giannis a little bit, and I did think Davey Grant won that fight, but this is going to be, I think, a very good fight overall. I think Marcos has goods, though. I really do think he's the real deal. This is the biggest test of his career, but I do think that he's at a number that I was willing to parlay and bet solo. So I got Daniel Marcos here. I do think he puts him away with the liver shot. I think the body is where Davey Grant's much more susceptible. If you're beating him headshots, he really can go all day. That's why I think Vieira wasn't able to put him away. He was just, opened him up, elbows, everything to the head. But going to the body, Grant has, I think, had trouble to the body before in fights. And it ends up exposing the grappling. I think it'll have his losses, but I do think he gets put away here by Marcos. But a decision definitely in play too. But I am a very big believer in Marcos, and I think that he passes the fraud check of the 37-year-old Davey Grant. What say you? 2 cents.
Dude, this fight is awesome. That fucking Daniel Marcos minus 140 money line looks so juicy and so succulent and so tempting, and I'm just too pussy to grab a hold of it. Like, I've said this so many times where it's like, this dude should win. He's younger, he's faster. Like, it's just, I do think Marcos wins though. And call me crazy. I would not be surprised if he is. When's the last time Davey Grant got knocked out? Has he ever been knocked out?
No, I don't believe so.
I wouldn't be surprised, man, because like, okay, check it out. Like, we know the guy's tough, right? We know like he's never been knocked out, but he gets hurt in a lot of these fights, man. Right. Martin Day and Martinez hurt him pretty bad. Like,
Smoka did.
Yes, Smoka hurt him. Marcos is nasty on the feet. Like, he's a good striker. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm picking Marcos. Don't have the sack to bet it, but I think he's the side. And like, I don't want to get in front of Davey Grant, but I'm gonna pick him to win.
Yeah, no, fair. Yeah, fair enough. I think I might, depending on the price on the KO prop, because I do think it's going to be pretty high up there because he's never been KO'd. But when a lot of first KOs happen in your late 30s when you're in these lower weight classes, especially. So
he's very hittable too. Like, he's tough, but he's kind of a punching bag.
Yeah, got it at minus 125. Davey's one of my all-time favorites, but Father Time beats them all. Jack's crying. I think this is a really good fight, though, and I'm excited for whoever wins it. But I am a Marcos believer. He's not from Brazil, so I can believe in him. Justin, great featured prelim too. I think they clearly want to showcase whoever ends up on the side of that fight. Minus 140 on Marcos. If you don't know if he's in the Zhongli parlay, you don't understand, the Zhongli parlay at this point. But yeah, Marcos is in there. LaRon Murphy, Josh Culibao. Neither one of you guys are in there. This is a split decision all day long right here. LaRon Murphy cannot be trusted. He really cannot. And I'll let just my 2 cents lead the charge on that. I won't steal your thunder on it too much. But Josh Culibao, I'm not sure he can really be trusted either. He is a moment winner if there ever has been one. And I do think that he might just push the offensive pace a little bit more than LaRon Murphy. But I just don't know how good Josh Culibao is either. This is a fight I'm looking to not bet anything other than the split decision on. I'm leaving it at that. I think this is a super close fight. I have zero faith in LaRon after a few fights. Honestly, it's not just the last one. I think Josh Culibao is the level that he kind of meets in the middle, and we hear both guys' names because it's going to be a split decision. So, split decision, is my bet. I will pick LaRon Murphy for the show, I guess. But, if you want to tell me why the split decision Sungwoo Choi opponent Josh Culibao should be trusted, I'm all about listening to it. And Melsik Bagdasarian was beating him to pieces before that submission. I agree with Noah.
EASS in all capital letters. Once again, gentlemen, not fucking touching it, dude. I wouldn't touch this with Zach Johnson's money. Dude.
What money?
Dude, this is so greasy, man. Look, I've been guilty of overhyping LaRon Murphy, and I've also been guilty of fading Josh Culibao. I did it against Melsik. But yeah, he was beating Josh Coulibao's ass. And LaRon Murphy's a pretty clean striker. Like, I didn't think that like Santos, I didn't think that was a good look for Murphy, but I was never really that high on Santos. So like, I don't know. Like, yeah, if I'm going just off that, like, oh, Coulibao's live, but it's like, I also don't think Culibao, like, I think people are like overreacting a little bit. Like, I think that Murphy, while he's maybe not quite as good as some people say, like, he is pretty good at staying safe with like submissions. Like, he does have pretty decent sub defense, and like, he's not a terrible fighter. I think he's just getting a little overhyped, but I'm gonna pick Murphy. If it goes to the cards, man, it's going to be Murphy all day. We already saw, like, they're going to give him the nod. They're obviously pushing this dude. And I don't think it's like – I don't think he's shit. I just think he's being a little bit overhyped. But I'm still going to just, like, until I see, like, something else from Culibao. I don't know, man. I'm still just kind of like the jury's still a little bit out for him as far as I'm concerned. But, yeah, give me Murphy by split.
Can't believe these guys are like combined 23, 2, and 2 or 23 1-2, and it's like this low of kind of like excitement for this fight.
Dude, I could see this going to the cards. Like everyone's itching about Culibao winning, but Murphy getting the split. Like I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. Minus 140 Murphy, plus 120 Culibao. I'm not gonna do anything with that. Minus 140. This is another fight that I don't really want a lot to do with. I'll be honest. There's a 9-year age difference for one. Jai Herbert, he's all right. There's definitely some chin questions I have with him always. And just overall, like his killer instinct isn't really all there at this point. I feel like he's kind of fighting a very passive style that's not going to win him a lot of fights. And the chin, kind of still is always available. He's not super incredible on the ground, but he's kind of good enough. And then there's Fares Ziam, who's not super really incredible anywhere, but 26 years old. He's getting better and better. I do think, but he's still pretty pensive. He got submitted by McKinney. So, I mean, that's beyond a red flag. But honestly, like, I think that Jai Herbert probably has enough kind of veteran guile to get this one done, and he's not going to be put in a lot of dangerous spots. So Jai Herbert probably wins this one by decision, but again, not a fight I'm looking to bet at all.
Well, it's funny because a couple of the fights that I didn't have the sack to bet, it just kind of like that logic for not doing that kind of goes out the window because I did bet for Fares Ziam. It's for a couple reasons. Like, dude, I have never been high on Jai Herbert. I think people are still like hanging on to that Ilya Tapori fight. Well, dude, he almost got Ilya out of there. Yeah, well, he's also been slept by fucking Reese McKee. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a chinny,
newly signed UFC Reese McKee.
Dude, he's a chinny 35-year-old jobber.
Mm-hmm.
I think people like give Fares Ziam way too hard of a time for some of his losses, but like really excuse some of Jai Herbert's. Jai Herbert's just doesn't have any wins that are worth a fuck. Like, he had a really close fight with Kyle Nelson, and Ziam's 26. I'm telling you, dude, I think there's a really good chance that we could see Ziam's first UFC KO. Herbert's chinny, and like Ziam is a good striker. Like I know he has like the Vendramini fight wasn't a great look. I don't think he's like the next dude. I don't think he's going to be champion or anything.
He hasn't had a great look yet. That's the thing. He's just
yeah, that's true. I mean, it's like I guess why people are taking the shot on Herbert at plus money because like he does have a little bit more experience, but like, dude, he knocked out Kama Worthy. You know what I'm saying? He's not knocking out Ziam. He doesn't throw enough. He's like, and Ziam isn't that chinny. He's the fucking chinny one. And if they bang, Ziam's gonna knock him out. But I can see Ziam win a decision too. I bet it. I parlayed him with Pogues. I know it's risky if it goes to the cards because Herbert's such a fan favorite. But I also think, dude, I don't think it's crazy at all to think that Ziam will, if he doesn't just knock him out cold, that he will hurt him and win minutes. And like, I think if they're just standing and having a kickboxing match, he's a fucking good kickboxer too. So yeah, give me Ziam. I already bet him. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not betting Herbert at plus 135, but minus 155 to Ziam. I'm leaving it out, leaving it alone. Yeah, should be a boring or decent fight maybe, but it probably goes to decision. This next fight, I'm excited about this next fight. This is the people's main event right here. Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig Bearjew versus Serge Apano. Here's the thing with Muniz. He's a BJJ guy who's really started to fall in love with his stand-up. Against Brendan Allen when he got taken down, kind of showed with the level of game that Brendan had with his grappling that he was able to stay out of the bad spots with Muniz completely throughout that fight. And honestly, like it I think was not a super deep choke there with 30 seconds left that he gave up to. And it was like the type of choke that I think that Paul Craig would notice and noticed the quick tap type of thing, and I just feel like that's not a great sign for him. I always love the Paul Craig KO play myself because it's always going to be juiced, and he's going to be another jiu-jitsu guy who's probably willing to throw whatever, and he's not worried about getting taken down. But I'm curious if Muniz, will be able to just kind of dominate with the top control and get a decision. And, on the feet, I do think Muniz is a little bit smoother, but I think Paul Craig's more dangerous. I'm interested to see the 185 as well. And I just think that he is going to get fraud checked here. So Muniz at -200. If you're trusting that, God bless you. I got Paul Craig at +185 yesterday. I'm sticking with it. I do think that he could win a decision, but I think it's going to get finished here. And I think it's going to get finished by KO on my side here because Paul Craig said so. 2 cents. What's your thoughts?
I like it, dude. My thing in this fight is I don't like some of the intangible stuff for Craig. Like, I don't like moving down a weight class at 35. He never had like the best chin, but I don't think that's going to be too much of a threat for Muniz. I mean, he always could get clipped, but like you look at the guys he's been knocked out by.
Yeah,
it's like Johnny Walker and fucking Atomic Alonzo and like dudes that hit really, really fucking hard. That ain't never been Andre Muniz, not a day in his fucking life.
Nope.
So like, and yeah, I agree about there's cardio concerns for Muniz. There's heart concerns for Muniz. There's like, he's 33 too. He no fucking spring chicken. So like this whole idea that, Craig's old and washed. It's like Muniz is almost as old as Craig, and he like just hasn't fought that level of competition. Dude, Craig's fought some of the best fighters in the whole fucking division. He fought Ankalaev. He fought the fucking, well, he's not the champion anymore, but he was the most recent former champion. Like, yeah, Craig at +185. Dude, when I was writing down all my note, when I did my lines, this was the one where I was like, this is off. I just wrote OFF in capital letters. And like,
correct. We talked to each other about this. Correct.
Dude, even if you think that like, I don't know, dude, that just seems like kind of automatic, man. Maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't, but I threw Craig at +185 in a greasy little 2-piece. I don't have a ton invested, obviously, but I mean, you know how I do. But I do think Craig is he's such a live dog. Even if
it's about to be in a 5-piece too, if you know what I'm saying.
Ooh, I like the sound of that, buddy. But yeah, give me Craig as the dog. War UFC's William Wallace, and yeah, I hope we hear the freedom at the end of this.
The only disadvantage Craig has here is his KOs have happened in front of like millions of people, while Muniz is getting knocked out in garages by Brazilians.
Right, and like I don't.
If you don't see it, it still happens.
Like I don't like that Craig's so willing to go to his back, and like Muniz can put his wrestling shoes on sometimes, but like I'm not all like. He ain't no fucking.
Why is Muniz getting rewarded for Craig's improved performance last time out?
I don't know, man.
If Craig would have if you see what I'm like with Brendan's good performance last time out, Brendan Allen's good performance last time out, I feel like Muniz is now getting like more credit for being competitive in that fight.
The Johnny Walker loss ain't aging too bad either, though. You know
right? So like, yeah, sure, but he
beat fucking Anthony Smith, like.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are both on Craig here. We're both on. This is one of I think a couple dogs we're both on +185 to -215. So Craig back up to +185. Interesting there, but yeah. Next fight on here, Nathaniel Wood. Is he still the prospect, or did he finally outgrow the nickname? Taking on Andre Fili. He's still the prospect according to here. Touchy-feely versus the prospect, 29, almost 30 years old. So when you turn 30, you can't be the prospect anymore. I think this is a very, very competitive fight. Andre Fili has fought a lot of guys. Let's just say that. And he's, for the most part, fought him competitively. The Joe Anderson-Brito fight, he got Joe Anderson-Britoed by. But otherwise, competitive fights with guys like Sadiq Youssef. The fight with Bill Algeo, very, very competitive. But I do think he's starting to not be able to kind of apply that same pressure with the wrestling. And I do think that the shots are starting to wear a little bit more. I think the speed also is going to be a big disadvantage here for him against Nathaniel Wood. I think that's his biggest advantage moving up to 145. Looked really smooth against Charles Jourdain. The wrestling is my concern for sure. And also I think that Fili, he throws heavy. So if he is able to catch Wood, I'm curious to see how Wood responds to the power of a 145er, because I think in his first couple fights up there, even Charles Jourdain did not, wasn't able to really hit him the way that I think Fili might in this fight. But I still like Wood, honestly. I did think that Wood, most likely by decision, seems like what would make the most sense. But it would be interesting to see if one of these guys is able to get the finish. But it's hard for me to see Wood losing this fight.
I actually like this fight. It's not like very high level, but it is like, I feel like it's pretty competitive. I don't know, man. Fili's a dude that's kind of like grown on me over the years, and I think that he's actually a pretty decent fighter. But and also like I'm always kind of like waiting for Nathaniel Wood for like the not the other shoe to drop, but I've been kind of waiting for him to get like fraud checked. And I do like that he's at 145. I think it helped, like him not having to cut all that extra weight and just being able to like focus his camp more on his skills. Like he's a pretty young guy, and I just think the youth and the having the crowd behind him, if it goes to decision, it's going to be Wood all fucking day and into the next one. So like, I don't see how he loses a decision. I agree with your point that Fili does hit hard and can hit like surprisingly hard. Like he's not someone that people just think of as a KO artist, but he actually does get like a couple more knockdowns than people would think. And I've seen him like, do better, like kind of overperform in some spots. I think that Wood will get it done. I'll probably pick him by decision. I wouldn't be surprised if Wood knocked him out. Like you mentioned, like Fili's, durability maybe starting to wane a little bit. I wouldn't disagree with that. So yeah, I'm gonna take Wood decision, maybe knockout, but yeah, probably by the cards.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's 5'6", 5'5" against 5'11", about 6-inch reach disadvantage too. So be interesting to see. This might be the fight where we see why he was sacrificing getting to 135 so much, or
right
CJ for the 145 change. This next fight, co-main event circus, absolute circus. Molly McCann, Meatball, is back against Julia Stoliarenko at 125. Here's the thing. I saw Stoliarenko at plus 270. I bet it. She is now plus 185. I'm not going to really think about it anymore. It's blood money at this point. Whatever. I think that Stoliarenko is going to go for what Stoliarenko does. She's going to go and try to get this to the ground so she can use her armbar. She's going to, if she gets it there, she's going to armbar her, just like Jessica Rose Clark. I get it. Chelsea Chandler knocked her out. Maybe Molly McCann knocks her out in round 2. I think the Molly McCann, KO bet is perfectly fine, because if she survives early takedowns by Julia will probably gas out. But I think first takedown might be the first submission, and it might happen very early. So I got my Julia Stoliarenko ticket. Maybe she's been really focusing on her cardio and her weight, and maybe she's just going to be very responsible and have this newfound gas tank here and be able to grapple for 3 rounds and get a decision even. So I think Molly McCann could be that bad on the ground that could happen. So Julia Stoliarenko for me at plus 270, and I stopped thinking about it.
Yeah, dude. Give me a P. Give me an A. Give me an S and another S. Like, why? I don't know, man.
They got me with the price.
Dude, I don't even hate you for that. I just don't understand why this fight is like
co-main
event. I do. It's Molly. I get that, but like that is the only thing, dude. This fight is like, in any other scenario, this would either be like a prelim headliner or like maybe a main card opener, but it's just like
No,
Molly,
it would be a prelim middle.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. What, like, I don't see, I do, but I don't. I see why they've lined Molly that big of a favorite. I've never been high on Stoliarenko, but she is dangerous with that one fucking move.
Right.
And Molly has shown herself to be susceptible in grappling positions. I'm going to say that Stoliarenko gets knocked out. I'm going to say that Molly weathers the storm and knocks her out, but I am not gonna fucking get in front of minus 350 or whatever the fuck Molly is right now.
She's minus 215 now. The price has been docked way down because she was over minus 300.
Bobo, if Stoliarenko armbars Molly, you are going to be able to hear a mouse fucking pissing on cotton in there, dude. It is going to be dead quiet. Like, no, thank you. And I'm not going to be sitting there all dead silent with a fucking burn ticket on Molly McCann. So, like, pass. Give me Molly. Stoliarenko super live. That's a super slick butthole play at the line you got her at. But yeah, I'm a pass.
It is what it is. Yeah, it didn't overcommit there. All right, and I might have also thrown in a little sick parlay on the two dogs in the co-main event and main event because I couldn't resist.
That's
I did. I'm sorry. We gambling sometimes, and that's what I did here because Marcin Tybura, Tom Aspinall, the price is wrong. It is just wrong. So I think this is going to be a good fight. I think that the assumption that Tom Aspinall is just going to come out here and slump him, I think, is a little bit disrespectful. I do think that the level of competition is in Tybura's favor. The knee injury level is in Tybura's favor as well. So these are just a few things that when I get a guy at plus 370, I just take and I go with. Because honestly, I think that Tybura is the type of guy who, could, expose someone like Tom Aspinall. What Aspinall did against Volkov, though, is pretty scary. It shows that level of jiu-jitsu. He has improved his jiu-jitsu since those early losses as well. So I think the submission is the side on Tom Aspinall. I am going to most likely play. I haven't decided the prop I'm going to play to cover the other side here and hedge. But I do think I lean towards Tom Aspinall, hurting him on the feet, getting it down to the ground, and just maybe getting another, like, Americana-style arm lock where he's just like, I'm better at jiu-jitsu. And this is the heavyweight division. I think he could. He did that to Volkov. That just was like a statement to me on the jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to side with the jiu-jitsu here. I know a lot of people like the KO. And I did sprinkle a little bet on Marcin at plus 370. So I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I'm sick. But I think Tom Aspinall wins by sub.
You are right that the price is wrong. The money line is wrong. The money line is a little bit disrespectful to Marcin Tybura, but I get kind of why it's ridiculous, but like I understand how it got to that point. Like Aspinall is what, 30? He's one of like the younger guys in the division. He's one of the faster guys in the division. He's one of the better strikers in the division. He's got very quick hands. Mm-hmm. Tybura is chinny. And he's old. And so I'm not going to overthink it. The price is wrong, but I tell you what price was not wrong.
37's not that old at heavyweight. Come on.
It's not, but when you're facing a guy like Tom Aspinall, dude, if they're standing, Aspinall's going to chin check him. Like, Tom Aspinall by KO is minus 165. That is perfectly parlayed.
Tom won't be throwing no leg kicks.
And no, he won't. And that is the reason I'm not parlaying the money line, because that is one path I can see for Tybura as a potential re-injury. But I'm going to say at 30, I don't think he's going to I think Tom Aspinall is going to come out here and make a statement. I think he's definitely the side. Just by the numbers, yes. Like Tybura plus 325 or whatever, plus 350. I think that's like perfectly acceptable as a money line bet. But for me, I think Aspinall is just I'm not going to overthink it. I think it's going to be KO loss number 5 coming.
Fair enough. I might overthought the main event and co-main event. I do honestly think the sub is what I'm going to play on Aspinall.
I don't mind that at all, dude. And what I said about making a statement, that's a big statement because Tybura is a black belt and he's never been subbed, and I could see a club and sub for sure. Like Aspinall, I think he could might be trying.
I don't think Volkov had ever been subbed either, but I'd have to double check.
Yeah,
but it's probably Aspinall's show. But either way, the Zhongli parlay, what we're all here for. Shout out to Zhongli. We are starting with the first fight of the night, so we're gonna know right off the bat. Jafel Filo at -120. He's in the Zhongli parlay. We then move up to, of course, Mahmoud Muradov. I'm not going to overthink it. He is juiced now at -325. It went up during the show here, so took away a little bit from it, but -325. We still got Muradov. I am going to have my unknown go with Jamal Pogus here. So I do think I just like his overall game, and I do think that he, as I've said often, is better tested and better at MMA. So all the way around, I'm putting him in there. Daniel Marcos, I have all the faith in the world in him. He's in the featured prelim against Davey Grant. I think he gets it done. I think he gets the KO personally, but I know the decision is live there. And our one dog in the Zhongli parlay, Mr. Craig, Paul Craig, +185 to bring you to a clean +1781 right now. I put $20 down on it right now. You can put whatever you want on it. Pays out $375. So whatever you're trying to put down on it, join us on the Zhongli Express. But just my 2 cents. What do you have coming up the rest of the week?
First and foremost, thank you very much for having me back. Great to have you back on the tube. And yeah, man, this was a great show. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Best of luck, everyone. I only have a couple plays this week. It's a couple 2 pieces, and it's 3 2 pieces. One of them is the props with Craig and Aspinall KO. But dude, I'm loving the Zhongli this week. I actually agree with every single leg. So let's
Dirty Reg isn't going to join us on the Zhongli. Darn. It's all good, man. You don't have to join.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thanks again. Best of luck to you and everyone else. And yeah, let's fucking go.
Yep, appreciate it, y'all. I will be back tomorrow with the Cage Warriors LFA breakdown. So I'll be doing those in one video together. But appreciate you, Dirty Reg, Noah, Moise, Glenbot in here today. Good to see you, man. Appreciate you. Just my 2 cents, of course. Jack, Lobby. Oh, yeah, Juan Cruz, probably the same one as Justin Villegas, but whatever. He just switched off his burner. But it's okay. We appreciate everybody. Yeah, don't hate on the Zhongli mostly. But, if you don't like it, you don't have to play it. I play it every week with my friend Zhongli. We cash plenty of them. So we're actually due one. It's been a couple weeks. So appreciate y'all. Cage Warriors, LFA tomorrow. Peace.